New Dad.
Come on down, folks.
Yeah, I'll do it. This is New Dad Gaming, a show about gaming, fatherhood, and new fathers trying to figure out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have a 3-month-old.
My name is Gavin. I have a 7-week-old.
My name is Jeff. I have a 5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old.
Still winning the numbers game. One of these weeks, I imagine someone's going to come from behind and beat you on that. We'll see.
Yeah. My daughter's science fair when she creates a singularity and travels through time.
Nice. Yeah, so gentlemen, off the top, how was your week in gaming and fatherhood? Don't rush in.
Hold on. Gavin, you want to take it?
I thought he specifically asked you.
Oh, was it me?
No, it was forever. It was open
Oh, I
forum.
thought I heard a Jeff in that sentence.
No, here, I'll go.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Hey, Gavin, stop talking. Hey, Jeff, how you doing, man? How you?
Week in gaming. Well, it's a month into school, right? So the kids are getting sick.
Yes.
Right on schedule.
So obviously, my kids are sick.
Kids are sick. It's a month in. Kids, just wait, guys. You'll catch everything. No, kids are sick, so it's kind of crazy during the day. But the best part is they get knocked out at night, either through street fatigue or just drugs. So it's an early bedtime. They're usually asleep by 7, and I get to do my thing.
This match of Rocket League is brought to you by Nike.
Yeah, Benadryl.
Yeah.
So I can just imagine too, like it just coincides perfectly when you get a new game. Like, man, this game looks awesome.
Yeah.
Man, my lad, you look really sick tonight. Let me just up that NyQuil there for you, pal. It's gotta get you well.
Maybe that's why there's so many fall releases.
Oh, there you go.
Trying to bank on.
Well, clearly the kids will be sick, so let's.
Yeah.
Just take them out to busy places like malls.
You know, I actually legitimately got that advice from not so much advice, but just a subtle nod saying, you know, children's Tylenol works wonders for a good night's sleep. Wink, wink.
I'll attest. Amen.
Oh man, so
Do you know what's great fabric softener for your swaddle blankets? Chloroform.
Jeez. Wow, man! Episode 3, we're getting into some pretty dark territory.
Horrible things. No, I think what I like about kids in gaming right now, and that balance is just I don't know, just when they go for their nap, that's where you're like, all right, sweet. Like you get in those little bits. I think it doesn't cater well for marathon play sessions, but you know, you're able to find those nice little pockets of time. Because at least with younger ones, like babies, they tucker out pretty quick. Like their battery only holds so much of a charge, and then they're like, okay, I need to sleep for like at least half an hour. So you do get those little windows of opportunity to do the thing that you wanted to do, whether it's household chore or, you know, a quick little gaming session or, you know, read a bit of book. Like you have those moments. You can kind of judge on how groggy they are based on like what size of window you have and what sort of activity you can partake in.
Yeah, I had trouble with that balance though, when especially when my baby was coming up, during the first month for sure, where he goes down finally, and there's just such a mountain of work to take care of as far as dishes, clothes, shower, like, and more than anything, like just sleep. Like kid goes down, this is a precious hour that I might be able to sleep. So that's
I think also too, like we've been kind of playing like tag team with a lot of responsibilities too. So if one person's holding the baby, that's when the other person's off doing like some dishes or doing this or doing that. And that seems to help a bit too when the baby does finally get a chance to have a solid bit of rest. We do get opportunities to do things like watch a movie or something, or I get a chance to play a game or whatnot. But yeah, I totally agree. When you do get, it's like earlier in the day when they're having their little pocket naps, that's when you can get the stuff done. Or some leisure activities, and then later at the day when they get those little moments of sleep, that's when you're like, okay, now I get to get some shut-eye, because I still have my old circadian rhythm from before the baby was born, and it's hard to break that. So you kind of like, as much as I'd like to have a nap at 11:30 a.m., like it's kind of hard. You know, I'm up, I'm full of caffeine, my body's kind of set for the day, so I don't know.
You guys are kind of lucky. You guys still have the 2-on-1 defense, so you can just tag in and out and 2-on-2. I don't. Different ball game, man. I don't know.
Yeah. The adults are currently outweighing the infants, so
It's a numbers game. It's a battle of attrition,
Right.
really. Like, you know.
And just keep suggesting, like, look, we'll just bring in a couple extra parents and.
Yep. Well, it makes you wonder why. Like, it kind of makes you understand why you see a lot of families with multi-generational households, and it's like, you know, you kind of get it. You're like, okay, now I understand why there's like 3 generations of people underneath this one roof, even though it's like there's zero privacy and, you know, everybody's in each other's business all the time. There is that sort of strength in numbers when it comes to, you know, the older crowd dealing with the younger crowd and trying to juggle all the responsibilities.
Yeah, I find myself thinking about that a lot, where it's like, not to complain, but it's just like, is it supposed to be this hard? Like, this unbelievably hard? And I think a lot of it, though, comes from, like, so way back in the day, and, you know, I don't care to theorize too much on this, but ultimately, like, way back in the day, it was tribes. So it's you and this group of people nomading it around.
Yeah.
So everyone's together. And then even as early as, let's say, like 200 years ago, like, you were probably living in a house with, as you said, Gavin, like a couple generations of folks. Mm-hmm. So dishes, like food, just 20 minutes to not hold the baby was very possible. But now in our huge modern rush to be independent and living so far away from each other, which is wonderful and exciting, but now it just means that you are just on your own. You got, even with the 2-on-1, it's so much different. You got to wonder, you know, was it necessarily supposed to be this way, and does that mean now, is that a big reason why it's so difficult, or it feels so difficult sometimes? Because we've isolated ourselves.
Modern world is you know, I think modern human beings are kind of gotten a little soft at times too. Is like, you see what sort of workload people used to be able to endure, and then you compare that to the style of workload. So I think like our cognitive endurance is higher, but like our physical endurance to just handling chores is different than, like, you know, people working on farms, like even as a full family. It might be multi-generational, but you still have like people handling a lot of work in one given day. We also have a lot of distractions that take minutes out of our day, and then that sort of was like drops in a bucket. So like all these modern conveniences also require a lot of maintenance. So, you know, the average amount of time you spend in a year, like sending out a tweet or even just updating firmware on your phone, all those little things, like those are hours that, you know, previous generations never had to really, like those hours would have just gone towards whatever tasks were needed of them at the time. So I think we're kind of pulled every which way by all these modern wonders, which sometimes don't even exactly make our lives easier. Sometimes they actually make our lives more distracted. And it prevents us from being able to have as much time as we need to tackle items that we should be able to tackle. And I guess that kind of ties us back into gaming, in the sense of, like, juggling that sort of, this is a leisure activity, but, like, we're already pretty, you know, our dance card's pretty full, so to speak. So it's like, do we have that much time to allot towards it, or even that much in regards to resources in general? So.
It kind of plays into, I don't know if you guys have started to feel it, but, and even go beyond the guilt of, you know, this is time I could be spending with my child. Let's assume they're like sleeping or something.
Yeah.
But just the guilt of, you know, if I spent this time learning a language or practicing math or like just something, like putting it towards a skill.
When I look at the hours I spend on like the Bethesda game, and then like I think of what sort of thing I could have learned how to do, and it's
There's
like
languages in there. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think Dovahkiin is really. Dovahkiin is not a widely spoken. It's, you know, just under Latin in regards to accessibility worldwide. But yeah, it's yeah, you do feel that sort of sense. Like, would have this time been better spent? And especially now when you have a kid and that sort of, you know, casting the cradle and silver spoon sort of thing. Like, you're like, I don't want to. Like, I want to have some time for myself. I want to be able to enjoy things that I enjoy, but I also don't want to miss out on something special like a laugh or something adorable. So yeah, it is rough because you don't want to skip that. But if the baby's sound asleep, you're not really going to miss much except for some tossing and turning and maybe a couple other little noises, and that's about it.
Yeah, I think it's a weird phobia, not phobia, I think a misunderstanding of the medium still that exists a bit, where if you said to somebody, in all my spare hours, I read books. Like I read. Or even with something like movies. Like I love cinema. I love watching movies. There's a certain almost respect that's given to that. And even if you think about the books, like if you're mostly reading, like, say, fantasy books, and there's still that notion that, like, well, it's reading, so you're really improving yourself. You're getting much better. And there's no... So, I spent 50 hours reading... rereading Lord of the Rings or something to that effect, like reading these fantasy books, and people are like, oh wow, reading, that's intelligent, great on you, as opposed to I played 50 hours of this game, and they're like, oh, what a waste of your life, like why are you playing these children's things? Like ultimately for me, I just think like the difference between sometimes some of the books that you do read and some of the movies you would watch, as opposed to this interactive medium. Like, it's just leisure. It's just varying degrees of leisure, but there's just this stigmatism still attached to gaming where it's not really seen as anything beneficial to your person. And I don't want to sit here and try to claim that it's just a less respectable leisure activity as opposed to a book or a movie.
Yeah, well, I think the social reputation for gaming versus the evolution in what gaming has become. The evolution has grown faster than the perception. So, like, a vast majority of society still looks at gaming as being something as simplistic as a round of Pong or Pac-Man. They don't see the larger narrative games or the fact of, like, a lot of games have to do with a lot of organizational skills and resource management skills and strategic thinking. They just look at it as something like playing air hockey, but digital. So I think that could be, it could be where that stems from, because I do agree there is sort of that sense, and whether it's even just self-placed or whether it's a society thing or a combination, there is that sort of idea of like, if I could be playing this really, like, I could be playing The Last of Us, which is a very, very nice narrative, well put together game, very serious game, very adult game. Or I could sit and, like, you could tell somebody that you did that, or you sat and you read, like, a whole bunch of, like, drugstore dime novels, and they would still think that reading all those trashy dime novels was a better use of your time, or a more intelligent, grown-up use of your time, because you were doing a task that you teach in school, and not a task that you would do after school at the arcade.
Yeah, and some of it could be, marketing as well, right? You see all the commercials marketed towards, the 12-year-olds, 15-year-olds, and they put all that out there. The Call of Duties are out, and that's what everyone thinks about. They don't think of, now you're getting movie producers coming into games like Del Toro and Kojima collaborating on PT, right, which was an awesome demo. But you see that kind of cross. Now, it doesn't go the other way, where games are made into movies and people just think it's one big joke, because it usually is. Yeah. But again, it's that marketing of it where people do think it's kind of a leisure joke kind of thing to do. Mm-hmm. Whereas books are just, they're kind of known as, little things of knowledge that you gain and you'll hold on for the rest of your life as memories and things to apply to the rest of your life. But
yeah, it's like the standard that books are held to. Like, every book by default is assumed to be War and Peace, and every game by default is assumed to be Leisure Suit Larry.
Exactly. So, good reference. Yes.
And like that's the thing, is that we can't see past the Leisure Suit Larrys to see the Skyrims or the Last of Us, and we can't see past the War and Peace to see the insert witty reference to a book that has absolutely no intellectual value. So.
Yeah, it's going to be... Yeah, it feels like we're at a bit of a turning point with that, like you said, with the movie producers coming in. The... what's the PlayStation... series with the thief. I can't. Is it Drake's Fortune? Drake.
Oh yeah, Uncharted.
Uncharted.
Yeah.
Uncharted. Thank you. Yeah, just like the story and the character development, and you've seen cuts of that where they just take the cinematics in between it, and they're able to put together like a pretty good movie, like just with the cinematics and the story, except as opposed to just being a passive participant, you're in it. And between that, Last of Us, and other great items coming out, ideally we start to see some sort of, I don't think that we need to hang up our boots on this idea that until they respect us, then our job's not over. It's really, let's get in here, let's enjoy it. But
I think at the end of the day, their respect is an unnecessary thing for us to enjoy it. It just depends on how much. Like, even when I go to read, like, I like reading comics, and I still get weird looks from some extended family. It's like, oh, you're into comic books still? In your 30s, and you're a dad? I'm like, yeah. But
they let you take home a baby?
Yeah, exactly. They let you leave the hospital with her, but then they don't understand that, although I really do enjoy reading some of the, more pop culture-y ones, or some of the mainstream superhero ones, there's also ones like, Art Spiegelman's Mouse, and that is most certainly not for kids. So, they don't understand the breadth that the medium has, and I think that's also the problem with games. Games is such a wide medium. You get games that are more akin to something like a poker game, like Hearthstone. You get games that are more akin to an interactive movie, like the Uncharted series, and everything in between. So you get some that are very sport-oriented, you get some that are very card game-oriented, you get some that are more strategic, chess-oriented, some that are just full-on interactive narrative, something in between. And, you get that sort of diversity in some of these other mediums too, but, sometimes people just focus on one facet of that. And unfortunately, in games, it's usually the lowest common denominator.
Leisure Suit Larry, as if you put that out. That was I've never heard of that game. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm kidding.
That's going on your list.
Never played it. Never, don't know what you're talking about. No, you'll never find a save file of Leisure Suit Larry.
When I
was 12.
On a half-inch floppy disk up above the air conditioning duct.
No, just be like, yeah, it's one of those embarrassing things. It's like, hey, remember this game, Leisure Suit Larry? Like, no, never.
I never spent hours trying to figure out the CD key to try to get it installed off my friend's computer. I never.
So a thing I would like to bring up to you, gents. I recently celebrated a birthday. And that's what I'd like to. I did it. I survived a year. But my wife gave me what could only be described as one of the most amazing gifts, as far as I'm going to take the baby, just have a day and do what you like, which was amazing.
Nice.
There was a nap involved. There was just a walk involved, and of course there was video games involved. And so in playing it, three things came up that I kind of took note of, and I'd love to get your thoughts on each. The first was, it came time like, oh my goodness, I get this. I'm going to be able to have a real gaming session. Like, just sit down, hunker down, have a great time. What the hell do I play? I got this list of, I have all these games. I have this beautiful little moment as far as like this one day. What the heck am I supposed to play? Like, I don't want to waste it. And it paralyzed me as far as like what on earth to play. Like, have you guys had a similar experience of staring down having a moment of time finally to play something, just staring down a list and not being able to choose like what is my game right now that I have the time?
Yeah, I've had a couple situations like that where it's kind of like the backlog, right? I have such a backlog of games. Thanks. That when I get, a couple hours to myself to do something, I don't want to I used to treat it like work, right? So what game can I play to get the most out of my time? And I felt that when I did that, it was more about running through the motions, trying to get done with that game to move on to the next, so I can complete something and look for the light at the end of the tunnel. But I found that if I dive into a game that I actually really like and really sink my teeth into and can play a couple hours and set it down and wait for the next gaming session, that's the best way to play it. For me, that's what's worked for me. If I go through, like I used to do with PS Plus, you get like a free game every month, and you just like rack up games, and I would play a little bit of each, never finish any of them, and then feel guilty that I haven't gone back and experienced some of the story, right? Because you play a little bit, I can't do any more. Sorry, there's too many. I can't. I need to make the most of my time. Let's play a little bit of everything, like a little buffet, and then I can fill those hours with
a little sample.
Yeah, so I don't know. I kind of got off that streak and focus on just one game and try and complete it. If it's going to take me 3 to 6 months, then it takes me 3 to 6 months, and I just turn a blind eye to all the other spoilers that are out there for the other games that are coming out. But I don't know. I found it's hard when you have a whole blank canvas for your day and you don't really know what to get into. So I think it's different for everybody. But what worked best for me was, what do I like most? What am I going to get into? It's usually an RPG, and try and experience that story the way it's meant to be experienced. So that's what I've had.
Yeah, I would agree. Like I've had similar situations where it's like that. It's the haunting backlog. You have a list. Usually the one that I always just stare at like an impossible summit is my Steam library, because they had sales and
brutal.
Apparently have no willpower. And I get all these games where I'm like, oh, I've always wanted to play that. Oh, it's only $5. All right, cool.
Yeah.
And I'll get it. And then it will just sit in the library, not even installed. And I'm like, oh, I haven't installed it yet. And I just look at it, and sometimes even before the baby, there'd be moments where it was like, okay, like my wife wants to watch something on TV, and it might be something that I have absolutely no interest in. So it's like, okay, you watch something on TV. I'm still in the same room, but I'm going to go on the computer and play something on Steam. And then I just stare, and like I could see, I'm like, okay, I got about an hour, maybe 2, and I just see like the clock ticking away. So I just stare at this list, and then here's the kicker, and I'm not sure if it happens to you guys, but you sometimes will revert back to a game that you've already like played to death, and it's like. Yep. You're like, oh, I don't want to play, and then all of a sudden you realize you're like 20 minutes into like a second playthrough of Fallout. You're like, what am I doing? Like, I've already beat this game. Why am I playing it again? And it's like, I don't need to play any more Burnout. Like, it's fine. I'm done. I've experienced it. I know what it's like. I'm happy. Awesome. Let's try something new. And there's all these new games that are just, fresh, factory sealed, haven't been touched. And all this unexplored territory and narrative, and then you just fall back into just like, I'm going to play some more of this because, I don't know, I can't make decisions. It's like going to a buffet and be like, I guess I'll just get some French fries. Like, there's no...
Guess I'll just have water. It's okay.
I'll have the bread that's at the table and some water.
So I think, man, that is what, hearing you describe that just really kind of brings to light. Like, that's what Hearthstone was to me. For these past couple of weeks, probably like last month, really. Like, I don't think I had not dove into anything else, but it's just because I know what it is. I'm enjoying the challenge, and I would look at the list, and it's just like, man, I could try to get into one of these, but maybe I don't like it, and then I've lost some time. And this other one, like, I know that I'm into, and I'm chasing some things in it. So yeah, I'll just keep playing with that one. I'll just keep playing with that one.
Yeah, there's also that fear of, like, when you start something new, it's like you need a longer play session for that first round. Yeah. To just to figure out and to get your bearings. Like, it's really hard to do 20 minutes. Like, most tutorials are longer than some of the play sessions that you get as a parent. So just to figure out, like, the game mechanics and to familiarize yourself with the controls and have them feel intuitive, you need more time in one sitting than sometimes the playthrough that you have that day can allot.
Yeah.
And I find sometimes that's a hurdle as well, where it's like, oh, I really want to try this game, but I really don't have the time to crack into it. And it's like that cracking into it is almost like a more involved play session than like, ooh, I'll throw this on for a little bit.
Yeah, I think that stopped me for quite some time. The game I decided on, and there's a lot more points on it, but I don't want to get too much into it yet. I ended up playing Gotham City or Origins, Batman Gotham City Origins. What's exactly that title?
What was I playing? I'm so tired.
What was the game? Oh man, I'm so bad with names and words right now with this lack of sleep. I think it's like Batman Gotham City Origins. Like
Okay.
it's the first one was him in Arkham Asylum.
Yes. Yeah.
The next one was kind of the sequel, Gotham City, I think.
Arkham City, I think.
Arkham City, yeah. And this one's Batman. Let's just say Origins.
Okay.
The one like where like it's his first story. It's not the latest one, which is Arkham Knight. It's the one before that. Great game, but like having played previous Batman games and this series specifically, I knew exactly like Gavin was saying. I knew how long it was going to take before I got to a point where it's like, okay, I get this now. I could just sample it. I can dive in for 20 minutes and get out and feel great. Like I knew it's like I needed an hour, like a guaranteed hour, 2 hours, so I can get real, like just dive in, enjoy it, and get moving.
Yeah.
Did we just lose Gavin?
I think he's done. He just dove out.
He's like, that's it.
He's Googling what the Batman name was. I don't know.
And it broke his internet. Even better,
Yeah.
man, if he comes back, if he's had a baby emergency, that would be perfect. And he just wanted to turn off the camera so we wouldn't notice. That'll be perfect.
Win the poll again.
Yeah, you did it.
But going back to like a new game, you do have another problem where, like, let's say you want to start this new game, you've cleared out the day, you have the day to do it. You boot up that game and it's got like 16 patches to install, and you're like, now do I really want to do this? Or like,
So do I climb this wall? Yeah.
yeah, I found that too, where you go back to an old game or something that you haven't played for but everybody else has, and it's got all these patches to download. And at least on PS4, the update process is so long, so you're just not committed enough to do it, that you just drop the game, go back to something else that you know, or something that's already installed, right? So.
But just imagine like the look where it's just like you're sitting there with your controller, like, yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yes.
It's downloading one of like 50, like just the slow put down. I mean, one of the things that helped me, like you mentioned one thing that helped you, and one that has kind of helped me as we stall for time, as Gavin hopefully jumps back on, is just to allow yourself to not finish. And because I was playing, you're speaking about great games, and I'd heard great things about Assassin's Creed 2. I enjoyed the first one, never got into the previous ones. It was on sale. I'm like, I feel like an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah.
And it was great. Like I had a really great time. Like I was running around, like doing the missions. It was a great experience. But I got to a point, and I just was not having fun anymore. It wasn't too much of a grind. Like things were going okay, but it lost its luster for me. I'm like, and with the limited time that I have being a dad now, I just couldn't grind through it. Where previously I might, for just the sake of completion. Hey, we got Gavin. Gavin, was your baby crying?
No, my baby wasn't crying. I had a computer issue, and right now I'm trying to.
For the folks listening on the podcast, we're currently staring at Gavin's desk. It's like, oh, his face is back. So you just came back. We kind of kept on the same one, and I was giving a tip, or at least a thing that has helped me was just the allowing myself to not finish a game. And it actually kind of goes into a second point that I'd like to ask you both. But I was explaining to Jeff that I was playing Assassin's Creed 2, had heard great things about it, well-reviewed game, was loving it, great time, having a lot of fun. But it just got to a point, and I just was not loving it anymore. It was a bit of a grind, and just, I'm kind of done with this game. And with the limited time that I have as a father, I just said that, like, if this isn't enthralling and I'm not loving every minute of it, my time is precious enough now that I am just going to drop this game. Maybe I'll pick it up at some point because I'll have a assassinating itch, but at the moment there's just so many other games and so little time I'm just going to wrap it up. And the thing I'd like to segue that into, the second point from what came of this play session for myself, in this Batman game, Origins, there is like 1,000 Riddler packs that you have to pick up, and like 20 special suits and 50 side missions, whatever, and you're staring at it and asking yourself, are you kidding me? like 1,000 packs? Like, I don't have this kind of time. Are you mad? And it goes so counter to the way I used to play games, where I'd almost call myself a completionist. I used to love getting the 100%, like find every nook and cranny, really get into it. And now I've just really had to adjust that with my limited time that I have. Like, I just cannot spend that kind of time where a game turns into something not fun just so I can get the 100%. So have you guys found yourself dropping games, and even within games you're finishing, just not like leaving the completion rate super low so you can move on?
Ironically enough, yes, with Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed, the game everybody drops.
I can pipe in on that too. Assassin's Creed Black Flag, same thing.
There was a certain spot where it just like I couldn't get past this one set of forts that were on the coast. I'm like, I kept dying, and it's like, yeah, there's one thing to keep trying, but like this is an effort in futility, and I don't have time for it. I'm not having fun anymore, so it lost my attention. I might get like, a hankering to be a pirate again, but not to the sense of really needing to, feeling like I need to finish it. And I really stopped with the I need to 100% it and do this and do that. I'll have fun with it, but like there's no 100%ing Just Cause 2, and there won't be any 100%ing Just Cause 3, and I'm fine. I've made peace with that. I'll play it and have fun, and that's it.
I would like to see like a snapshot of, when you're in those type of games, they got crazy amount of side missions and collectibles. Just a snapshot of like my 8-year-old self flipping to that world map and seeing all the icons. You're like, yes, it's like Christmas. This is amazing. And then a snapshot of me now flipping to that same screen. You're just like, oh my, I'm never this. Like, where's the next mission? I just need to get the story over and get it done. The problem happens is when you have side missions that help the story, or that you miss out on the story, or you need a certain weapon for the story that makes it easier. That's where I find that it's a little bit, okay, well, don't do that. Just make it for the other people that have time. I have to move through it.
Just
Sorry.
make it a mission if it's that it's integral to finishing things comfortably.
Yeah.
Yeah, because with Origin, what's killer, which really it's driving and just grinding into me from my old completion days, where every time you pick up a pack, it's like, oh, you got 1 of 6, and then you move over here, you got 2 of 6, and then you move to another area, it's like, all right, you got 1 of 11. I'm like, oh, like every percent is so low, like, unless I look around, but I don't have time for you.
Yeah.
It goes back to the days in Golden Saucer, Final Fantasy VII, getting the golden chocobo. That took forever to do, and I had the time to do it. Now, there's no way. I have it on the app. There's no way I'm going to do that. I'm not going to do that on my iPad, even though I don't have the time. It's not going to happen.
Especially even though you know where everything is.
Exactly. I know.
Do it. You could write.
I'm not going to do it.
And you know how amazing Knights of the Round is.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Good.
Exactly. I'm not going to get there. It's not going to happen. I've accepted it. There's like a 12-step program, right? We should introduce steps where one is acceptance. It's just it.
Man, I'm thinking back, man, yeah, I got that one too, and just like each of those chocobo races was so long.
Yep.
Like like I don't know that we have to explain it to everybody, but Final Fantasy VII, you had to raise chocobos, race them, raise their rank, mate them, and then it was slightly better. But ultimately, as far as my memory would serve, it's something to the effect of like, feels like mate 2 chocobos, race that chocobo like 100 times, mate it again, race that one like 100 times, and just repeat for a year.
Yeah, and it wasn't a quick race. It wasn't not a quick race. It was like a 2-3 minute race each time.
Like, man, that could be the quintessential grind of a game as far as like when we were coming up.
Grind. And I think older you get, the less patience we have for grind.
What is the time, man? Like your kid goes to sleep, you get 30 minutes, 4 chocobo races, and then
well, now it's just microtransaction that, right? Okay, I'll spend the $9.
Yeah.
Just pay for it.
Just get it over.
Well, it's funny too when you think of like the microtransactions to complete this thing. It's like how much, if you were to just equate how much your time is worth per hour, and how many hours it would take to do this thing. Like, even if you paid yourself like $2 an hour, it would still be cheaper to buy the thing.
Yeah.
I want you to pause on that thought, and I also want you to say exactly that again, because I want to segue on that. But there's just one last point that came up from the Batman game, just to finish up the loop. So the only other part that came out of it was I was having trouble with, and I'm not too proud to admit it, but I was just having a terrible time with the boss. I think it was Deathstroke. He's pretty early on.
Oh, I heard about that one being just...
It's annoying. It's a dumb fight. Like it's not because like I feel I'm so terribly bad at this game, but it's just like they made it annoying and way too long, unnecessarily long. But anyways, but one thing I've found now with gaming too is I'm so much faster to go online and just find the answer to something. Because the way that I've equated it lately is that, okay, I could figure this out. But for me to figure it out, that's going to cost me 4 to 6 hours of trial and error, mistakes, like just try everything under the book and finally I'll get it. Or, with my limited game time that I have now, I will just go online and find the answer so I can progress. And I did that with Deathstroke. It's like, how do you beat this guy? I don't want to sit here for another, I don't want to waste another 3 hours on him. It didn't take me that long, but I don't want to spend 3 hours. Let me qualify myself a bit. But I don't want to spend 3 hours on him. I have a lot of game to get through and very little time. Are you guys finding yourselves going to guides or not cheats necessarily, but like how-to walkthroughs, anything just to avoid some of those very grinds that we just spoke about?
I have, yeah. There's been plenty of times where I've like on the couch, paused the game, set the controller down, picked up the tablet, opened up a frequently asked questions forum, figured it out, zoomed in on the map, set the tablet back on my lap, picked up the controller, and opened up the map in the game and try, oh, okay, there it is. Set a waypoint and go right to that point. And it's like, I just, like, looking under baskets is not fun gameplay for me anymore. It was at one point. I used to love just turn over every stone, see if you can find the thing. But it's essentially a digital Easter egg hunt. It's like, that's cool, but it's not progressing things for me. It's not what I crave in games anymore. So, why have that take up valuable time?
Yeah, I have the same thing. Like, with a game like Metal Gear Ground Zeroes that I've been playing the past couple weeks, there are some instances where you can only get a certain mission by completing certain objectives, and they don't say what those are, that you just kind of have to go around and find out for yourself. There's no way I'm doing that. I'm sorry, I'm going onto GameFAQs or whatever, watching a YouTube video on how to at least get the one mission that I just want to play. I just want to have access to. So I'm in the same boat. I'll be quicker to go online and figure out how I can play the game I want versus trying to solve it on my own and being happy with that. It's just, there's no time. There's no time to do that anymore.
It's almost like the younger generation is going to be posting it's like one generation provides the tips and hints for the previous generation to continue.
Yeah. Pass down some sort of book, like, here, son.
After them, it's like a circle. And it's like one generation feeds like how to play hints and tips to the generation ahead of them, and just like, yeah.
But
like, I feel guilty in my youth not spending more time on forums putting in tips and hints, because I feel I might have been able to help like a dad gamer back when I was in my youth.
So you're all take, no give. That's like,
yes.
Because
I'm a selfish man.
You gotta wonder, like, now that with that access, like the fact everybody coming up now will have full access to the wealth of everybody's knowledge right in their hands through their phones or whatever else. Does that kind of change some parts of gameplay where it was something that we had to grind out or talk to a friend of a friend, or basically just spend the 10 hours to figure out, oh, that was the secret, that's how you get in there, if you can figure out at all. Whereas now, sure, you can do that if that somehow gives you the type of pleasure you want, but if otherwise, like with answers that are so easily and readily available, like you can actually with your voice ask your phone for the answer and it will repeat it back and tell you. Like, does that kind of, you gotta wonder how that changes the gameplay experience for kids coming up. Like, are they gonna have the patience for it, and then will game design change because of it? Like, there's no, like, what's the point of that specific secret as opposed to something like an achievement where if you can kill 10 people in a row, then you get this, as opposed to find these 7 points because this whatever.com has just, well, here's the map, here's the 7 points. Easy.
Yeah.
I think even in our generation, like we were in our own childhood gaming experience, I think there was Nintendo Power. You know, there were gaming magazines or PC Gamer. There were magazines out there that would give you like a map, and there were times where I'd be playing a game on my PC and I'd have an issue of PC Gamer open up next to me to help me out. So, you know, there was Game Genie back in the day where you could actually augment the game itself. I think it really just comes down to, I think the users will dictate their own amount of pleasure. Like, I think the players who don't want that help won't seek it out. As soon as you start seeking out the help, then obviously you want it, so you can't complain that it's there, and you can't blame the game for being able to be solved by using said help. Because it's not like the game did it for you. They didn't force your hand to seek this out. So you kind of have to take responsibility for your own actions in that regard. And I think people will.
And I think some games some games pad themselves too, right? Like the length of it, they'll just make it overly obtuse or whatever as a puzzle that there's no way you come up with a solution. But in order to pad their game, they have people running around trying to solve it, and that lengthens the overall time for, so on their reviews and stuff, they have an 80-hour game versus a 20-hour game.
You get a better box.
Yeah. So it's I don't know. I find some of the issues with a lot of the grinding and stuff. It's padding. I don't want to spend my time running around collecting things that I should have access to a mission to already. Like I bought your game. I want to play that next mission. I understand that there's some sort of thread where I need to go around it and do something, but a lot of them don't direct you now because they're trying to be more of a reality. Like, you're this character in this world. You're supposed to kind of figure it out for yourself because you take on this persona and you go to it. Versus just putting a marker on the map where Batman would at least tell you where to go, right? With a boss, you're trying to figure it out for yourself, so you can get that hand holding, but then they kind of let go of that hand and they say, all right, now it's your turn. It might take you 5 hours to figure it out, and that's good for us because it makes our game look longer, right? It makes you look stupid, Trevor.
Yeah. Not naming names, Trevor.
But even with trophies and achievements, I know on the PS4 you can hit a trophy and it has a function right next to it built in the system to search on YouTube, and it goes and finds it on how to get that trophy. So if you're trophy hunting, it's really easy. I'm wondering if they just implement that is the next step in game design, where if you stand around for too long, it just pops up with a little hint saying, do you know what to do next? Search YouTube, or here you go. So I don't know.
Or even worse, like if oh, we see that you're having trouble scaling that wall. Well, why don't you buy this DLC?
Yeah. Here's the easy difficulty for you.
Yeah.
You noob. Yeah, I've heard of something where it's just they'll actually suggest, like, would you like to skip this?
Oh,
like
I love it when a game does that because it makes me just try harder. Not too many times, like, would you perhaps like to try this on medium? No, I want to try it on medium.
Hey, Hey, buddy.
Consult him.
You seem like you're having some trouble there.
Like you don't know what
wanna
you're doing.
wanna lower that down a little bit? Little baby, you want a little baby
Who
game?
goes up to you and it's like, yeah, it looks like that might be a little heavy for you.
Yeah.
Want me to take a couple of those weights off the bar for you? No, I can do this. Popping a vein in your head.
So I do want to circle back then. So if you can remember what you had said, Gavin, around. So let's say you want to beat a game and it's going to let you pay to level up or paid DLC, or just like access to new levels and you can grind it or you can pay it. Now, as new fathers, we have some new financial responsibilities, to say the least. We got some things to buy to keep certain little ones alive.
Yeah.
So how are you gentlemen dealing with the idea of spending money on games and things for games amongst other responsibilities and things that are more important, balancing that with family obligations?
I've always tried to keep my gaming budget kind of lean and mean. I'll usually wait for a sale or whatnot. If there's a game that I'm really excited about or really enthusiastic about, then that's kind of, I've been tucking money aside and I have a little, gonna buy myself something nice fund, which is usually just a little bit of Christmas money that's been saved for 8 months. And then I will splurge full price. As far as paying to win, I would pay for an unlockable cosmetic item that if I really liked it. It's like, ooh, this suit, okay, that's pretty wicked. I really want it. It's not that much, and it's only a cosmetic item, so yeah, I'll get that. And I don't want to spend the time grinding to get it because the hours it would take me to do that, if I paid myself, if I figured out what my time is worth, and even if I just paid myself $2 an hour, it would still be cheaper to just buy that item instead of grinding for it. But that said, when a game has a paywall for you to experience it, often even at the expense of my own enjoyment of the game, I won't pay because, especially if I've already paid for the game. It's more of a, you can help the market figure itself out as a consumer by not buying what they're selling to let them know that you don't want that. As soon as you start getting it, it justifies the action, it justifies the procedure that they're doing, and then they're just going to keep doing it, and then you're just helping it happen. So I'm really against that sort of thing. If you want 2 versions of the game, one where you grind to get the full version, or you can just buy the full version. So you either grind for free and see ads and pop-ups all day for the full version, or you just pay for it and you're done. And then all the advertisements and grinding goes away, and it's just you play the game and enjoy it as it's intended to be. That's not as bad. But when it's if you want that next level, you might need to pay up. Then I don't know. That's frustrating.
Yeah, I'm with Gavin on that. If it's a pay to win, I just feel cheap and dirty about it. It's just not something I want in my, that 2 hours of gaming. I don't want to feel cheap and dirty. I will not. I won't pay for that. Just the winning. If it's a cosmetic item or a costume or a character that I can play the whole game with again, and a cool new abilities or something, yeah, sure, I'll plunk down 99 cents or whatever it is. Nothing over $5.
Download pack where it's a story extension or something, an offshoot, where it's not part of the primary game, but it's downloadable content, but it's compartmentalized away from the main game. That's not bad, because it's ooh, I want to appendix the experience rather than pay to continue the experience.
Right. A good game, a good example of that was Infamous Second Son, right? So you had this huge game, open world, that was pretty easy to get through, probably about 15 hours, and then they came out with First Light, which was a whole new extension of the game. It was kind of like a prequel in a way, but you played a new character, new powers, and it was $9.99 to add on to this new experience using the same in-engine game world. That's something I would go for. I wouldn't go for $9 to get all the superpowers and you go nuts. It just, you feel too overpowered. It's not fun anymore. You take that out of it.
And Infamous was also really good about that. Was it Last Light, Second Son?
Yeah.
With Last Light, it was a standalone DLC as well. So like if you didn't have the game, you might pay an extra $5, but you can actually get it without having the original game. I think Far Cry 3 and Far Cry Blood Dragon was the same sort of thing.
Blood Dragon was awesome. Everyone should get that game.
But yeah, and I think also tying into our talk about backlog catalogs, like when we hit these sort of paywalls where it's like, oh, you want to enjoy the game more? Well, pay for this thing or that thing. Immediately we got so many games on our list that we want to play. It's just like, okay, well, I guess I'm done with this one. And you just walk away. They don't have as much power over us sometimes as they feel, and it's like, well, then I'm just gonna go experience this then. If it can be like that.
Yeah, like I'm definitely down for some of the. I think once or twice a year I'll buy a game, sticker price like new, just because friends of mine are buying it and it looks really great. I like the company. I like what they've done before. I'd like to support this effort. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, I forgot my line of thought. Oh no.
But sometimes you don't buy full price?
Yeah, okay, sorry. Jeez.
Wow,
I've always
over here.
Man, I gotta go to bed. But like sometimes with the pricing, it just is so, and especially now, like I've always kind of had an issue with it. I used to absorb it a little bit better, but especially now that I'm a dad and I have diapers to buy, frankly. Like when the games are coming out and their sticker price starts at $80.
That's ridiculous, by the way.
Like $70 to $90, and it's just, man, like I want to. And if you were 50, like I could probably squeeze it because I like what you do, and this looks really great. But man, I got formula to buy. I cannot.
We're dads and new dads at the same time that the prices are going up like $30 from what they used to be. And especially with Canada and our dollar versus the U.S. dollar, and then also with the new consoles, like we had that combination of the new console price hike where everything's up another $10, and then they add on another $10 because it's north of the border, even though it's free trade, just because our dollar doesn't have the purchasing power for imports, and even though these things are not being imported directly from the States, being imported from another country that our dollar has a different relationship with, but who cares? Manufacturing location is not the issue here; it's the licensing location. But yeah, it makes it difficult when games are as pricey as they are. To our benefit, though, because we're so slow to finish a game, that our backlog actually allows us to watch the game's shelf price diminish over the period of time that we finally get around to getting that new game. So by the time we actually have an opportunity to enjoy it, it's now like 30% off because it's so far from its launch date that they need to try to stimulate sales. So at least there's that advantage as a dad, is that we take so long getting around to the bloody thing, but they actually go down to the rural price.
And I'm just wrapping up Super Mario 3 and there's some great games coming up. Can't wait.
DLC in there.
Yeah. Oh, jeez. I can remember that. Man, I picked up Skyrim Game of the Year edition on a Steam sale for something like $10. I recently saw that. I remember watching the reviews for Shadow of Mordor as it came out. Like people raved, like it looked like this really great game, but just a little pricey at the time. And baby was on the way. Don't think I can do it. Like it's coming. It's all the way down to something to the effect of like $12, including all of the DLC. And it's good. Man, I gotta say, I feel some guilt on that though. Like I'm just worried a little bit that you're not supporting the devs and their efforts. Like it's AAA. It's a very complicated issue that I don't know that we need to wade into too much. But ultimately, still, I feel that in grabbing everything on the low end, when for such bargain prices, when it's been driven down on these Steam sales, it's like, am I enjoying it, but am I speeding the death of some great developers that will give me things in the future? But how do I balance that with my need to provide for family and not be ridiculous with a budget? Like it's this weird, like I don't know if you guys kind of feel that same like tussle back and forth, like that tug of war between desire to support and support the industry versus support your family.
Well, I help alleviate some of that guilt by just knowing in my heart that they have a far bigger problem with piracy than they do with people buying things on sale. And a lot of times when items do go on sale, the company that is putting the item on sale, a vast majority of the profit loss is on the distributor and not the studio. So, like, you know, yeah, sure, getting things full price and supporting these studios is fantastic. But at the end of the day, too, you're still purchasing the item. You're purchasing it for an actual amount. There's actually money being exchanged for the goods that they're providing you. And a lot of the things that they look at, too, is they look at audience reach as much as they do the total amount of sales as far as price point. It's like, oh, we did this much in price for sales. Like, yes, but we also sold X number of units. And it's not X number of dollars generated, it's X number of units distributed. So they understand that they now have a larger user base. So just by having a sale go on record, that's helping the studio justify to their shareholders that, hey, we have this many people playing this other game. And it allows them to get better investment. So, you know, though you might not be giving them a lot more money, you know, by the time the studio gets their share of it anyways, it's been pretty kept clean. A lot of that money is being used through being taken by other people along that chain. So, you know, I think as long as you are supporting them by having a record of sale and throwing some money their way, like, you're being a proper customer, you're being a good customer to them, and then that, as you said, you do buy a few games every so often at full price, and they might, by buying that game discounted the first time, and you really enjoyed it, then you might feel like, yeah, you know what, next time they release anything, I'm on it, because they did a solid job. So you're more likely to go to them for that once or twice a year that you want to buy a full price game.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the same lines as well. The only thing that will stop me, and I'll full out purchase it at sticker price, will be if it's a really involved story. So, like, if it was Last of Us, I bought that right when it came out, just because I was worried of story spoilers. Yeah. So I'm on a lot of gaming forums and stuff, and even Reddit. And if there's just one dude that wants to spoil it for everybody, right? He'll say, like, the last ending scene, right? And that's the only thing where I'll have to jump on it and really try to run through it as best as I can when it's out. If I wait too long, I can't deal with that, with a story-based game like that, being spoiled. Because then you're just like, well, thanks. I might as well just watch the whole YouTube playthrough of somebody else doing it.
So I think new show goal will be to make Jeff cry by finally providing spoilers. And then, Jeff, what happens in Metal Gear is
oh god,
the gear is not metal at all. It's plastic. It's
too
crazy.
Many. There's too many.
Yeah, all the cars in Rocket League are actually the souls of dead generals.
Oh god.
Yeah, this gear is out, like, and I think it's the price, because, like, again, like, if it comes into the 50 range sticker price, it's up there, but okay. Like, and I can remember I did that for Borderlands for the first time with the pre-sequel they released, because I played 1 and I played 2 and just had a riot. Like, great games. Pre-sequel came out, a couple friends of mine bought it, and it's just, yeah, I'm going to get in, want to play with them, and didn't regret it. It was excellent. But with Grand Theft Auto 5, or 5, the latest one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one came out, and on PC, when I first saw it in Steam, it was like $79. And it's like, man, I really liked 4, but damn, like 80, I cannot hit that price. Like, I cannot spend $80 on this experience, and especially at that point too. Like, that thing had been out for like a year, so it wasn't even like you got that. It didn't even feel like a brand new car. Like, it was really something that had been around a few times. But congratulations, PC guys! Now here's your game.
Yeah.
Now I've noticed that just today I saw a discount coming out where it got brought down to like $30 or $40. $40 probably still too much. 30 is getting into the range. We're like, okay, maybe I'll dip my toes in it finally. Where it's really old hat, but yeah, it's curious how there's like history with your personal history with that franchise seems to dictate a bit what you're willing to spend on it, but only to a certain point. And I think I'm telling you, like, after that 60 range, it really starts to get dicey.
Yeah.
At least personally, like maybe there's throngs of people who love paying that much for it, but previously, even before I had a kid, don't think so, and now that I do, just I cannot imagine spending that kind of money on a game at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, it all comes down to like entertainment per hour per dollar kind of thing, and it's like if you were to get X number of movie theater experiences out of this game, then yeah, that's where it is. And instead of allocating that household money, or in that point just your own personal fun money, to that many things, then it's like, well, yeah. And especially now, since we have kids, like, a lot of the diapers and stuff are able to be subsidized by the money we're not spending by going out anymore.
Well, are you not partying, Gavin?
No, I'm partying. I'm keeping it at home.
Jeez,
But,
okay.
Well, yeah, and say goodbye to like collector's editions. Who's gonna plunk down $150 on like, well, with Metal Gear they have like the full replica of his bionic arm and all this other like.
That hand looks so cool, though.
I know it does.
Yeah,
No way.
you have if you have like a small place, like I used to like the collector's editions, but then I'm like, you know what, I have so much room for collection stuff, and I do like to collect stuff. As you can see behind me, I have stuff I collect, but like there is a finite amount of actual physical space that I have to put that stuff in. So, when Fallout 4 came out and they had that big Pip-Boy arm brace thing, I'm like, that's great, but I got nowhere to put it, and even if I did find somewhere to put it, if I did have like guests over and they saw it, it's not the embarrassment factor, it's just they'd be confused. They had no idea what it is. Whereas, like, I have a Pip-Boy bobblehead from the first, or from Fallout 3, when Bethesda first tackled the series. And, like, that thing, people don't need to know the series to enjoy it. They look at it and they're like, oh, that's funny. It's just a cute little bobblehead of, like, this weird little guy. Whereas, like, a Vault-Tec Pip-Boy arm brace, like, unless you play the games, nobody's going to know what it is. So,
It would be cool to put your kid in it, though. Like,
just like hanging out on his chest, and like, you're like, why is it not picking up the readings? I don't get it. What does the baby need?
Well, it's like I put my phone in the Pip-Boy, but instead of loading up like their app, it has like Yo Gabba Gabba playing. So it's
Great show. Great show.
Oh, I should have got the thing.
You missed your chance. You're done.
Oh, yeah, because it would have been right on my arm. Distracts her while I go. Got duct tape. It'll be all right.
Oh man, my kid has such a desire to look at screens. Like you turn on anything and just like hit eyes like immediately, which feels like he inherits from me. But man, that's like, it's kind of worrying in a sense. Like, I'm not really sure how much screen time he should be getting. Like, I've heard some numbers batted around. I can't imagine it's a real science at this point, but I've heard something like you're not supposed to let them see more than 2 hours at a time, if even that. And I mean, my guy's like, he's 3 months old, coming on 4. Like, terrified of thought, like exposing him to like tons of television or like screens or Pip-Boys, like on your wrist, like.
Yeah.
Just strap him into it.
I don't know. I think it's the watching screens and stuff, and how many hours of this, how many hours of that. Like, it can be kind of hard to judge. I think the problem with watching screens, it's not as much like looking at a screen, because yeah, it can be hard on the eyes. Like, 2 of the 3 of us are wearing glasses right now.
Let's be honest, Jeff needs glasses too. Let's be honest.
Yeah. But I also think it's because it's such passive engagement that it's not stimulating enough. So I think with kids, that's kind of why you want to avoid the screens. It's not because it's as unhealthy for them as it is. It's a lazy babysitter kind of thing, where you could be spending. It's like that what you said earlier about like the quality of time that you have with your kids, and should you be spending it playing a game? And it's like, yeah, and it's the same to be said about when you are with your kids. Should it be spent with them looking at the screen, or should they be looking at your face and interacting with you with physical, tangible objects in the real world? And I think each parent finds their own rhythm, their own balance, and each kid's different. But I think as long as you make sure that the engagement that the kid has is quality, then you're good.
And that that kind of circles back to our previous conversation where, now there's studies on screen time and how much is good for your kid, how much not. And that's where kind of video games come into play, where it is like a babysitter, right? You're kind of, versus reading a book to your kid, which is considered, you're sending knowledge to the kid, versus putting them into a TV screen while you're playing a game. So it's...
Well, it seems to be said about, like, are you just plunking the controller in their hands and then going and doing dishes, or are the two of you sitting together and playing a game together, and a game that might require teamwork, like a Donkey Kong or something like that, where it's a platformer system, and it's like, okay, now you boost me up, and we got to try to solve this one problem, like a puzzle platformer. Yeah. And I think like that sort of gameplay with a kid has a lot more benefit because it's a little bit more of a bonding experience of doing something together. And it's even like, setting them down to watch a program as opposed to watching it with them and laughing with them when a character does something silly. But no, you're right. Like a lot of times, unfortunately, some people do kind of like, you watch this so that way I can free up myself and do this.
Yeah, you see, baby, when Solid Snake first met Ocelot, but man, right away I just thought about Mario Maker. Like once the kids got enough, cognitive ability, to be able to actually put together a bit of a level, and then like you play the level against them, or like can you beat your kid's level? You make one for your kid. Yeah, it could be a lot of fun interactive time that way, which. I think I'm looking forward to once our little ones grow up. Yeah. I'm sure, Jeff, you've mentioned your kid being a rock star at Mario Kart already. It's like that the interactive play with them must be a riot.
With that game too, you can set your ghost in it, like best lap time. Yeah, I can't beat Daddy. Just a constant reminder.
Yeah, there's Gavin on his phone finding all those cheats we were talking about. Like, where are the shortcuts? I must remain dominant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, gentlemen. I think a wonderful note to head out on. I think you'll both agree.
Yep.
So, folks, again, this has been New Dad Gaming. If you would like to get a hold of us, you can find us on our website at newdadgaming.com. Ask us any questions or post on the comments. We do this show every week, and we will see you next week. My name is Trevor, and I have a 3-month-old.
My name is Gavin. I have a 7-week-old.
And I'm Jeff. I have a 2.5-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Beautiful. Wonderful, guys. We'll see you next week.
Later.
Bye.